So as we imagine the future of our city here in Curacao, as we imagine it being more safe, more sustainable, more beautiful, we'll need the hard work and the ideas of the architects, the designers, the community advocates, the activists. So why did they put a marine biologist on the stage? Well, I'm here to propose that there's another group of citizens that we can also call on to help build our future more beautiful and more sustainable. That group of citizens is often forgotten, often unrecognized, but they've been working day and night for a very long time to help make our city what it is and help make our city amazing in the future. And those citizens don't live in buildings and they don't live on land. They live in the blue, underwater. So almost everywhere you go in Curacao, if you look underwater, ignore me, I'm just the scale bar, you see corals. And people think of them as the background, but they're not the background. They're building the coral reef. Little tiny animals building our coral reef. And they're close relatives of anemones, so they have tentacles just like anemones. But they're doing one thing differently. They're making a skeleton underneath themselves out of limestone. And they're adding to that skeleton millimeters at a time, centimeters a year. And they've been doing that for thousands and thousands and millions of years. So that means we can see the evidence of all their hard work on the beach, in the rubble that washes ashore, and in the limestone terraces that were formed thousands of years ago when those parts of the island were underwater. In fact, almost all of Willemstad is sitting on a limestone terrace built by corals, and this building is sitting on limestone built by corals. And if you go look at the architecture in our UNESCO World Heritage Site, many of those walls and those historic monuments were made out of coral skeletons. So we owe a lot of our past to the hard work of corals, but it's not just that they've given us that contributes to the future of our city. It's also the work that they're doing for our city right now. So corals are building reefs underwater. They're building barriers underwater that slow down the speed of waves, that actually reduce the damage we get on shore from hurricanes and storms. So they're protecting our houses and our livelihoods and our lives. They're making hiding places for small fish, so those fish can grow into bigger fish so that we can catch them and we can eat them. So coral reefs are making us a source of food. They're building us underwater playgrounds. They're making us public spaces full of art, where we go, relax, play, and where tourists come, bringing millions of dollars a year. And coral reefs are also building the ecosystems full of millions of other species where we're discovering new chemicals like these molecules active against lung cancer cells, which were discovered just off the coast of Curacao just a couple of years ago. So if you look at TED's list of themes for City 2.0, corals contribute to our city in every one of those ways. They could have called it Coral 2.0, but none of the other cities have as many corals as we do. We're so fortunate that we have citizens underwater giving us all of those things. But we can't guarantee that that will also be a benefit we have in the future, because many of our neighbors in the Caribbean have lost many of their corals, and they're down to worthless things like bacteria and slime. And we don't live far from these neighbors that I'm talking about. We build our buildings right up to the water line, and corals build right up to the water line. So the distance separating us from our neighbors is not even a stone's throw, it's an arm's length. And that means that everything that we're doing on land in the daily life of our city, every time we're digging, bulldozing, polluting, trashing, everything we do in the water in the daily life of our city, every time we're spilling oil, leaking oil, discharging sewage, or overfishing, there's an immediate consequence for those neighbors underwater. We don't have miles or kilometers or oceans separating us. The reason that we forget that on a daily basis, I think, is because the ocean surface is a false boundary. It creates an optical illusion but there's really no separation between our city here on land and that city underwater. So I'm going to leave you with a small request from me, the marine biologist that they let on stage to end the day. The next time you look at the surface of the water, it might be later today, it might be tomorrow, because we're all pretty lucky that we live on this amazing tropical island. The next time you look at the water's surface, I hope you'll stop and pause and remind yourself, and maybe explain to the person next to you, that that surface is just a fake boundary between our city on land and our city underwater. And as we're imagining a Curacao that's safer and more beautiful and more sustainable, let's put a little space in that plan for our very generous and helpful and beautiful neighbors underwater. Thanks very much.